Hello, welcome to this medium games match, Snowbz versus SSounder. This is a medium games pool play match, which I believe is 4 games. I have much to say about Andy's last games, but I'll wait until the next break. So let's take a look here. Got quite a few different interesting things going on. Delve can get you a lot of silvers in a hurry. Chameleon can be quite nice, something like Journeyman. Journeyman does not work with Chameleon. Wild Hunt does. It's a little tough to get villages, though, because the only village is Cursed Village. They're expensive, they have a negative side effect, and they don't work great with draw like Wild Hunts. Although, you could play a Wild Hunt for Chameleon and then draw afterwards with the Cursed Village, but your hand's going to fill up with coppers pretty quickly. It's really difficult to thin out your coppers. So I don't really think you can play with Cursed Village here. So I wonder if you're just playing with like Delve money with probably want to add 1 Relic. It's a nice card to have. Maybe you just add some Wild Hunts. And if you're worrying about triggering a shuffle or whatnot, you can play them as Chameleon. They both open Island, Silver. I don't know. The Island stuff just seems so slow. You're decently likely to collide it with an estate, as we see Snowbz does not. SSounder does. Because of that, Snowbz actually hits 5, which SSounder is unlikely to do. But never mind, they had a nice draw. So I assume Snowbz is just going to get another silver here. I don't know. The Haven stuff seems really slow. You can try to Haven an estate to put it away with an island, but I'd much rather be playing Wild Hunt for +3 coins. Yeah, Delve money. I think 1 Relic is good. I think 1 or 2 Wild Hunts can be good. I don't even think Bandit comes into play here. The only question is, if your opponent goes pure Delve money, can you go Groundskeeper and get a whole bunch of Groundskeepers? But at most you're buying 1 card a turn, and then once you have Groundskeeper, you're at most buying 1 estate a turn, basically, or 1 duchy for all the points. Yeah, Wild Hunt can get you estates too in the end. So you can get all the Groundskeepers in a deck that has Cursed Villages, Groundskeepers, Wild Hunts. That's just a lot of cards you have to add to the deck, and you can only add 1 a turn. So it's taking you 20, 25 turns to actually set all of that up, and you still have to fight through your coppers and your opening estates. It just doesn't seem particularly reliable. We see SSounder has gotten a Journeyman. I hope they don't play it as Chameleon. And I guess you just name Copper. I mean, in a single game kingdom, especially if you set aside 1 or 2 things with Island, I guess the Journeyman can be okay. You're likely to skip over coppers and find silvers. As SSounder here, I'd be pretty happy just taking 4 silvers on this turn. You're adding a bunch of money to your deck. You're increasing your money density pretty significantly. If we could look at the money density now, they've already set aside 1 estate. So, you've got 7 coppers, 2 estates, that's 9, and 2 silvers. So that's something like 13 out of 12, something like that. But if you add 4 delves to that, it increases things pretty rapidly. Yeah, the problem is your opponent has to draw the Relic. So I thought the Relic getting 1 Relic is nice because the attack is annoying, but they're not going to draw the Relic every turn, and pretty quickly your deck's going to be filled with silvers. With single gain here, you're gaining Groundskeeper, you're gaining a Cursed Village, you're getting a Wild Hunt, you're getting Groundskeeper, Royal Carriage, Cursed Village, Wild Hunt. It's taking you 20 turns to get to a deck that does something, and I feel like Delve money is going to be deep into the provinces at that point. I do not like the Haven stuff here at all. I'm fairly confident that the engine here is just going to be faster. The money deck here is just going to be faster, but We'll see. We'll see what happens. They're doing a little bit of thinning with Haven and Island. It's a little bit illusory, I think. So this is so strange. The deck is taking both Cursed Villages and Silvers. I'm not quite sure what the goal is in such a deck. And like the Haven works this turn, but it screws you up next turn. If you're playing an engine, why would you delve 2x ever? Yeah, there's no reason to really in this king. If you're building the Groundskeeper engine, you never take any silvers. Maybe you take exactly one the first shuffle. And then after that, you just take Groundskeepers, Cursed Villages, Wild Hunts, I guess, some Royal Carriages, try to draw deck. That deck, and yeah, you want the Wild Hunts there because once you have all the Groundskeepers in play, then you can gain a ton of estates with Wild Hunts. And in theory, they're going to be worth 5, 6, 7 points each. But I feel like the Delve player can also contest the green piles some. It does seem really awkward though. It's really tough to get to. It's really tough to get to 8 provinces in any deck that's not an engine. Even an engine will struggle to get to eight provinces in this kind of kingdom. So it's a question of like, if I can build this deck with 10 Groundskeepers and you're stuck at 6 provinces for a while, and eventually you get 7th. But you know that deck also just adds a ton of silvers to it with Delve, because so you've got 20 silvers, you've got a Wild Hunt that you can play as a Chameleon. It seems really tough for the opposing deck to contest against that. Yeah, the question is for a while. So can you get to 8 is the question, because you've got to end the game. Otherwise, the engine player gets 8 Groundskeepers, 6 Cursed Villages, 6 Wild Hunts. Again, that takes 20 plus turns, 22, 23 turns to get that set up where you have that. Then they start taking green. Once they start taking green, their deck falls apart too. So, I don't know, maybe you take one island and you gain an estate with Wild Hunt, you buy, you gain it, you set it aside with island every turn. I have not run Delve Money recently, especially with like Chameleon Wild Hunt. It seems like it's pretty strong. And I also, the engine deck does have access to all the Wild Hunt points. So like if your turn is once you get 5 Groundskeepers, your turn is gain an estate from Wild Hunt, buy an island. You could score VP real fast. Bandit, you're going to trash a silver, and I've got 15 silvers in my deck. Like, my Delve deck has 15 or 20 silvers in it, so you trash one of them, and it doesn't do anything as much as you'd like it to do something. Here, I think you set aside the Journeyman. Well, I'm still kind of struggling that they seem to have... Well, neither of them are doing Delve Money, even though they both delved a couple of times. They're doing some kind of hybrid strategy because, we see that Snowbz bought a province already. This is a good question. I don't the decks just get very, very bad once you add a few green cards to them. Like the Cursed Villages stop functioning entirely. It gets hard to align your villages with your draw cards. So I think in terms of what the decks look like, it is real tough to get things going. The Haven Chameleon thing is cute. That's the best I will say about it. It is cute. But you still have to set aside a card. So next turn your Cursed Villages aren't going to draw. And here I think you just take the coins and buy a province, or I guess you can draw. I don't I want to be doing something where you gain a ton of silvers in these big turns and then just reliably hit province, but it looks like we're doing some kind of in-between strategy. This is the kind of king where I think I'd probably play with one Relic, but if I happen to hit 5 after I bought the first Wild Hunt before I wanted the second one, just the problem is the deck already has too many Wild Hunts and Cursed Villages and stuff. So I just don't quite know. This is going to be a sad turn for Snowbz. just to cycle, I guess. I'm not quite sure. I think this is a kingdom where you either want to go, I'm buying a wild hunt or 2 wild hunts, a relic, and then every other buy is a delve until I decide to start greening. I think opening the island is already a mistake. I think you just want to open like 3 silvers. Try to hit 5 twice and get like the wild hunt and the relic. Again, maybe you don't even need the relic, but it's if the choice is between 1 relic or 3 silvers, I think you take 3 silvers always. But and then you kind of ignore the rest of the kingdoms. You ignore Bandit, Royal Carriage, First Village, Noble Brigand, Island, Haven, Groundskeeper. As bad as it feels to ignore Groundskeeper. And I think if you don't build the engine very reliably, the engine player can catch up with wild hunts and islands and stuff. But again, that they have to stop building at the point they do that. So if you can just grab a ton of silvers, hit your price points, get province, get most of the provinces, the engine player has to stop adding groundskeepers to their deck to start adding green cards so you don't win the game. And that, affects how they can build their deck. So I think in general, we're seeing that with both these last couple of hands. SSounder's got a full hand and dead drew their Cursed Village. Yeah, I did mention at the start, DZ, that Journeyman does not play well with Chameleon, since Journeyman does not have the word draw on it anywhere. It's quite interesting. Journeyman also gets around Relic, the minus card token, which is quite interesting. So we'll see. SSounder's down a province here, and they don't have enough to afford one. They just get a Royal Carriage. I'm not quite sure what you're Royal Carriaging. If you're Royal Carriaging a Wild Hunt, then if you're Royal Carriaging a Wild Hunt, then you're dead drawing other Royal Carriages, other Wild Hunts, other Cursed Villages. And that was 7, like 3 silvers seems pretty good. Silver, Relic. I think we're past the point for Relic. The deck is too thick. And in general, these decks get really thick really quickly with delves. So we'll see. We'll see if Snowbz can hit 8. They do. I think you just take the coins here and then buy a province. I'm not really worried about. In fact, you don't even need to play this Wild Hunt. I'm not really interested in gaining the estates because it's going to just make my deck a lot worse. We'll see what SSounder does. Yeah, they Royal Carriage the Haven, which means the Royal Carriage stays out, which is actually fine because it's not going to make the shuffle anyways. But we're just drawing we still have all these coppers in the deck, and we're not finding particularly good cards to draw. I'd much rather be seeing a handful of silvers at this point. And they have Envious, so they're hitting 5 here. And Snowbz is up 2 provinces, so SSounder's in quite a bit of trouble here. I assume they're just going to take a duchy at this point. Given that SSounder is not going in for the groundskeepers, Wild Hunt, interesting. Island also made some sense to me there as another pile that you could lower islands and estates, but the estates will run quickly with Wild Hunts anyways, one imagines. And here we're going to get to, Snowbz is almost certain to get to province here. They're going to be able to Royal Carriage this Wild Hunt. And set aside a couple of green cards. With any luck, they'll be able to make those miss the shuffle. They do need to find, and we're seeing this now, they have 5 estates in their deck, something like that. So they are going to need to draw a lot of cards to see 8. I don't really think the money-ish deck that's just playing Delve Money really takes the Wild Hunt points until there's like 8 or 9 maybe, and you kind of let your opponent fill their deck up with estates and just make the claim that you're going to draw better because you have a higher money density. Yeah, at this point in the game, I guess 5 is probably fine. We're moving towards the end of the game. SSounder doesn't really have much of a way to come back. Probably the easiest thing for them to do is switch to buy Groundskeepers. and hope to get high money density, but because Snowbz can empty the estates, they can empty the islands, but it's pretty tough for them to empty a third pile. There are a lot of wild hunts in the pile at 5. Yeah, my general impression is that Snowbz has got this first one, but we'll see if they're able to close it out. And if you Chameleon this, well, they could have Chameleoned it. We're going to actually see friendly Relic here, I believe. They've got 44 points, 10 victory points. It's turn 17. So, I think Delve Money would have done better up to this point. I mean, the game probably would have ended if both players just went hard and Delve Money. That I feel fairly confident about. It would have been, who had a little bit better build order. We are starting to see them chain together pretty good turns, but it just took until turn, we're turn 17 now, so we're fairly deep into the game. Yeah, the Relic, what's going to happen here is Snowbz is going to draw a Cursed Village. It's not going to hurt at all. Yeah, Island is usually not a good thing to open. Even if here's the only thinning. If there was a really strong engine that you could build up, but thinning a couple cards was necessary for it to happen. But the engine just doesn't seem strong enough here to make it worthwhile. And again, the villages are expensive and there's not that many of them, so it ends up being a little bit tough to get turns off all the time, although SSounder drew a couple of Cursed Villages. Yeah, most of the time I think you'd rather be buying duchies in this kingdom than islands. It seems like they just got a little bit overly... I don't know, if you're going for Delve Money, then the islands make no sense, and if you're going for, the big engine, then, I don't even know if you open silver. You just, open Haven Island and say, well, I'm building a big engine, and, I don't want any silvers in my deck. I want all my, I want to get to be able to hit 5, and then, that's all I need to do for most of the game is hit 5, and maybe you never need to hit out price point higher than 5 with the engine. And if you ever need to spike a province to finish the game out, then you can play Chameleon. Yeah, because as I said, as the decks fill with green cards, and they both added a bunch of islands, which they're struggling to play and set aside. They're both adding estates, and the decks are just getting worse. So they're scoring, but their decks are worse. So it is going to be tough. I assume Snowbz will make the estates pile go, make the islands go, and then at that point you can just empty havens. Unless you can get a turn, you can spike province. I think this is already a spiking province turn for Snowbz. If they draw a coin in these next 2 cards, then they can they can play Royal Carriage on these wild hunts. And I guess that's the thing too with the Royal Carriage, it is, and if you see a wild hunt, that's 6 coins. So it's not super tough to be able to do things. I assume as Snowbz, you leave one of these carriages down and for next turn to finish the game off. It's really not worth the extra VP. Not quite sure. Oh, they wanted to Chameleon that. Right, it's not worth the extra VP. So they've got 10 here. They can just take the estate, buy a province. Yeah, I think removing your Royal Carriage for the mat is not worth the 1 victory point that they spent there. But it doesn't look like at this point it's going to make a difference, because I'm fairly certain they're going to be able to spike a province here in the next couple of hands. And SSounder does have these Groundskeepers, so this is going to be a nice. They're going to get +2 VP this turn, but they're not going to be able to draw through their deck and play the Groundskeepers every turn. They've got too many other green cards, too many silvers, too much stuff going on. We'll see what Snowbz can do here. Yeah, I mean, At this point, there's one province left. I think they're going to be pretty happy to take duchies. They instead go for the islands. It probably doesn't matter in the end. We're close to hitting 6 already here. They can play a Haven as a Chameleon, set aside a Haven, and play the Cursed Village to draw 4, and see where they get. Actually, can you play the Cursed Village? If you play Haven for coins, Chameleon, you can Chameleon the Cursed Village. That gives you +4 coins. Is that right? No. Cursed Village does not say plus cards on it. That's confusing. So you can't Chameleon the Cursed Village for value. But you can plow right through that Relic token. Yeah, so I think you start here by Chameleoning 1 Haven and setting aside a Haven. That was a mistake, because they Chameleon it, it's a free coin, and then the Cursed Village draws through that minus card token. But it doesn't actually matter, because they drew a couple of silvers in a row of Carriage. They're going to get the win here in game 1. So good game for Snowbz, and we will move on to game 2.